Think you know your antonyms? We're diving into a rapid-fire opposite word challenge right now. Find the perfect opposite for each word. Are your linguistic reflexes sharp enough to get them all? Starting easy, what's the opposite of being sad? It's happy, a cheerful start to our challenge. Get ready for the next one. Next up, if a glass is full, what's the opposite state? The answer is empty. If you got that, you're on a roll. Keep that momentum going. When you're happy, you might laugh. What's the direct opposite action? Did you know that cry is the answer? Humans are one of the few species who cry tears of emotion, a direct contrast to laughter. Let's see if the next one makes you cheer. Time to test your language knowledge. What is the opposite of a consonant? A lot of people think letter is close, but the real answer is vowel. Consonants and vowels form the fundamental building blocks of spoken language. Only one left. Final question. If someone is generous, what's the complete opposite of their character? It's not kind or frugal. The true opposite is selfish. A generous act focuses on others, while a selfish one focuses only on self. How did you do? Quick thinking on this one. What's the absolute opposite of hard? A lot of people think strong, but the answer is soft. Didn't see that coming? Keep up the pace. Next up, a fundamental action. What's the opposite of pull? It's push, simple yet essential to know. How are you holding up in this word battle? Time to test your navigation skills. What's the opposite direction of west? Not north, not south either. The correct answer is east, a crucial point on any map or journey. This one really ramps up the intensity. What's the opposite action of attack? The answer is defend. If you got that, you're absolutely sharp. Just one more after this. Final question, the ultimate test for word experts. What's the opposite of tighten? A lot of people might go for grip, but the real opposite is loosen. How did you fare on this impossible level? Think quick. What's the direct opposite of sell? It's buy. This fundamental economic pair keeps the world turning. Ready for your next challenge? Here's a visual one. What word contrasts perfectly with dark? Fun fact. Bright isn't just about light. It can also mean intelligent. But here, it's the opposite of dark. Did you get it? Let's test your taste buds. What's the opposite of salty? It's sweet. If you were thinking bitter or sour, you were close on the taste spectrum. But sweet is the perfect counterpoint. Final question for this round. Can you find the opposite of fast? Not quick, that's a synonym. Not rapid, same idea. It's slow. This one separates the swift thinkers from, well, you know. Time for another straightforward one. What's the direct opposite of more? It's less. This pair frequently appears in everyday comparisons, making it a fundamental opposite. On to your next challenge. This one's a classic. What colour is the opposite of white? Bingo! It's black. If you picked dark, you were close. But black is the ultimate opposite on the colour spectrum. Can you keep this streak going? Here's a fun fact. Dehydration is a state of being very dry. So, what's the direct opposite of dry? Ever been caught in a downpour? That's why the answer is wet. It's the full antithesis to dry, unlike its milder relatives. Ready for the grand finale? Final question. If you extinguish a flame, what's the opposite action to bring it back? Not burn. That's what fire does. Not brighten. That's about intensity. Not glow. That's a state. The answer is ignite. You've tackled the impossible level. How many did you nail? If you enjoy peace and quiet, this one's for you. What's the opposite of noisy? Silent, that's right. The absence of sound perfectly counteracts noise. Are you ready for another challenge? Next up, some things get better with age, but what's the direct opposite of old? It's young. If you pick that, you're off to a strong start. Let's keep the pace going. Here's a common travel term. What's the opposite action when you arrive somewhere? A lot of people might think stay, but the real answer is depart. Arriving means coming. Departing means going. Can you handle the next one? Time for some house chores. Which word describes the opposite of clean? Here's a fun fact. Clean can also mean pure in some contexts. But for physical cleanliness, the opposite is dirty. Ready to dive into another? Almost there. If you ascend, what's the exact opposite movement? Not rise or climb. The correct movement is descend. You're doing great. One more to go. Moving on, this concept is about abundance or scarcity. What's the opposite of being rich? It's poor. A stark contrast in financial status. Were you thinking about the differences? Easy to spot, but are you quick enough? What's the opposite of day? It's night. If you hesitated with dusk, you were close. Ready for the next challenge? Time for a spatial challenge. What's the opposite of being on something? A lot of people go with below. Classic trap. The real answer is under, specifically meaning directly beneath. Did you catch that nuance? From total presence to total absence. What is the opposite of all? It's nothing. When everything is gone, nothing remains. Don't let your guard down. One more to go. Final question for this round. Think about dimensions. What's the opposite of thick? Many might pick narrow, but the exact opposite of thick is thin. That's the one. How did you score on this final brain teaser? Time for the medium level. What's the direct opposite of easy? A lot of people go with simple, classic trap. The real answer is difficult. Did you see that one coming? Next challenge. What's the opposite word for start? Yes, finish. If you got that, you're hitting your stride. Let's see if you can keep this streak going. Think carefully about this one. What is the opposite of light, specifically referring to weight? Fun fact. Light can mean both not heavy and full of illumination. But here, the opposite is heavy. Got it right? Alright, level up. What is the opposite of standing? It's sitting. A simple change of posture, but a definite opposite. Final question for this round. Can you identify the opposite of inside? Not within, not interior. Those are too close. The answer is outside. That's it for this batch. You're doing great. So what's the direct opposite of hide? Wachi, it's reveal. When you hide, you keep something secret. When you reveal, you bring it into the light. Let's keep the pace. For this next one, which word stands as the opposite of good? The answer is bad. If you got that, you're on a roll. It's a fundamental pair. Time to test your vocabulary again. What's the opposite action when you give something away? Here's a quick linguistic fact. Take often implies receiving, which is the flip side of giving. That's why take is our answer. Next up, if you have many of something, what's the opposite situation? Careful not to fall for the none trap. The real opposite of many is few, implying a small but existing quantity. This is your final challenge for this batch. What's the opposite of having won a competition? You didn't achieve it. You didn't just fail. You lost. That's the ultimate contrast in games of chance and skill. Next up, thinking about elevation, what's the direct opposite of something high? It's low. You're soaring through this quiz if you got that one. Keep that focus sharp. Here's a tricky one about timing. If you're not early, you might be... what? Late? If you nailed that, you're definitely not late to the party when it comes to vocabulary. One more after this, and it's not the easiest. Think about taking responsibility, or not. What's the opposite action of admit? Fun fact, deny comes from the old French word denier, meaning to refuse or withhold. That's why deny is the opposite of admit. You're heading into expert territory now. Final question. Everything decides here. Now for the ultimate brain bender. What is the opposite of opposite? Not different, not reverse, and certainly not contradictory. The ultimate answer is identical. If you got that, you're officially a word master. Time for a challenge. What's the word that perfectly opposes love? It's hate. Love and hate are often seen as two sides of the same intense emotional coin. Ready for the next one? Think carefully on this one. What's the direct opposite of accept? A lot of people go with decline, classic trap. But the stronger, more definitive opposite is refuse. Let's keep going. Entering expert territory. Which word is the true opposite of smooth? Rough. If you went with bumpy, you were a hair off. Rough implies a more general, irregular unevenness in texture. Still with us? This one often trips people up. What's the opposite action of descend? Fun fact: in many communication protocols, send and receive are the core operations, making receive the clear opposite. Don't get tripped up by the final question. Final question. Everything decides here. What's the exact opposite of durable? Not resilient, which is similar. Not sturdy or strong. Those are synonyms. The true opposite is fragile. Only an expert could nail all of these. That's it for this opposite word challenge. Share your score and subscribe for more word puzzles.